Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling a really important topic, one that touches so many lives. The unique financial challenges faced by adults with ADHD.
Right.
And maybe even more crucially, the practical strategies that can, really make a difference. We've gathered quite a collection of info for this.
That's right. We'll be pulling insights from Psych Central on that everyday struggle of losing things,
Mm.
a really lively Reddit discussion, people with ADHD sharing their go-to budgeting apps, and also a research paper that gets into the weeds on financial judgment.
Yeah, and that's not even all of it. We've also got articles from ADtude and CHD that, well, they get down to the brass tacks of managing money with ADHD, including this concept of the ADHD tax.
The ADHD tax, the big one.
We even have a powerful personal story, someone navigating financial struggles with ADHD and finding their way back, plus a guide from Shimmer on stopping those impulse buys.
So our goal today really is to take all this great information and just distill it down for you, our listener. We want to pull out those actionable strategies, those key insights you can actually use.
Right. To take control of your finances in a way that works with your ADHD brain, not against it.
Exactly. Moving beyond feeling just, well, overwhelmed towards taking informed action.
Okay, let's dive right in then. A term that kept popping up everywhere was this ADHD tax. For anyone who hasn't heard it, what exactly is that?
Yeah, the ADHD tax, it's basically a shorthand for all those extra costs, both financial and, frankly, emotional, that come directly from having ADHD symptoms.
So not like a real tax from the government.
No, definitely not. It's more the cumulative effect of things like, inattention, impulsivity, disorganization, hitting your wallet and your well-being.
So these core ADHD traits have actual monetary consequences. How does this tax usually show up in day-to-day life?
Oh, it manifests in lots of ways. A big one is what people call the intention-action gap.
Intention-action gap.
Yeah. You fully intend to do something financial, pay that bill, get the oil changed, but because of executive function challenges, like just starting the task or staying focused, you don't actually do it.
Ah, okay.
So that missed oil change, turning into a huge engine repair, that's a perfect example of the ADHD tax. It's not just putting things off. These tasks can feel genuinely insurmountable sometimes.
That makes sense. I mean, we all procrastinate sometimes, but it sounds like for folks with ADHD, the financial hit can be way bigger. What else adds to it?
Well, another big factor is analysis paralysis.
Okay.
Just the sheer volume of financial info or the weight of making a decision, it feels so overwhelming, it just leads to nothing, doing nothing.
Like freezing up.
Exactly. Think
Yeah.
about unopened bills piling up, or someone putting off picking a health plan and maybe missing deadlines or paying penalties.
Oh, the unopened bills. I think a lot of people can relate to that on some level, but yeah, the impact seems amplified here. And then there's the forgetfulness and disorganization side, right? The Psych Central piece really hit on the frustration of constantly replacing lost stuff.
Absolutely. That piece was spot on. It's a perfect illustration of the ADHD tax.
It really is.
It leads to forgotten subscriptions you keep paying for, lost bills leading to late fees, even just misplacing cash. And like Psych Central pointed out, the time and energy just searching for lost things, that's another form of the tax, one we don't always think about.
Right, the time cost. And of course, you can't really talk about ADHD and money without talking about impulsivity.
Precisely. Impulse buys, those unplanned purchases you don't really think through. They're a huge contributor.
Yeah.
The dopamine system in ADHD brains can make that pull towards immediate gratification much stronger.
That instant reward feeling.
Yeah. The Shimmer Guide mentioned this. It makes it harder to weigh the long-term financial impact, often just overriding any careful planning you might have done.
That I need to feel better now kind of impulse. So familiar, and it definitely costs money. This sounds like it connects to that now versus not now thinking from the Attitude article.
Exactly. Now versus not now thinking is basically prioritizing immediate satisfaction way over future consequences. The future feels kind of abstract, far away,
Right.
which makes it incredibly hard to resist buying something tempting right now, even if, logically it might hurt your long-term goals.
So it's not just the small, immediate annoyances adding up. What are the bigger, longer-term impacts of constantly paying this ADHD tax?
Oh, the consequences can be really significant, far-reaching. Professionally, challenges with organization, time management, even emotional regulation can sometimes hold people back in their careers, affecting earning potential.
I can see that.
Then there's the damage to your credit score from missed payments, high balances. That makes borrowing money way more expensive later on. It can even make it hard to get approved for loans or mortgages. It's a real uphill battle.
Yeah, making borrowing more expensive just digs the hole deeper.
Exactly. And the constant stress from these financial worries, It puts a huge strain on relationships, partners, family, friends.
That makes sense. Money stress is hard on anyone.
And finally, dealing with this repeatedly really chips away at self-esteem. It leads to feelings of guilt, shame, which sometimes can actually trigger more impulsive spending to cope with those feelings. It's a really tough cycle.
Wow, yeah. It paints a very clear picture of the financial headwinds adults with ADHD can face. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. That research paper we mentioned looks specifically at financial judgment. What did it find?
Yeah, this was fascinating. The study found adults with ADHD scored significantly lower on financial judgment measures compared to neurotypical adults. And this is especially noticeable in just understanding financial information.
Financial judgment. Okay, let's unpack that. What does that actually include?
So the researchers broke it down into four main parts. Understanding, basically grasping the relevant info. Appreciation, recognizing how it applies to you personally. Reasoning, weighing options and making sound decisions. And communication, being able to explain your choices and understanding.
Got it. And the study found specific difficulties in these areas for adults with ADHD.
Yes, the ADHD group consistently scored lower in understanding across both tests they used. They also scored lower in appreciation, reasoning, and communication on one of the tests, the one that focused more on practical, everyday financial situations relevant to their own lives.
Interesting that the differences weren't quite the same across both tests.
That's a key point. The researchers think underlying ADHD cognitive factors are likely involved. Things like reduced capacity for processing information, working memory issues, slower processing speed, trouble with sustained and selective attention, even difficulties with basic math could all play a part in understanding financial information.
So it's not about intelligence.
Not at all. It's more about how the ADHD brain processes and holds on to this specific kind of information.
Right.
And the study really emphasized that these difficulties weren't just with abstract financial theories, but also with really practical stuff, understanding the details on a bill, basic banking terms.
Which obviously makes managing day-to-day finances much harder.
Absolutely. It highlights the potential for misunderstanding things like insurance policies or bank statements.
Okay. But you mentioned inconsistencies in appreciation, reasoning, and communication.
Yeah, the researchers noticed the difficulties there were more obvious when people were dealing with practical, personal financial info, but not so much with abstract hypothetical scenarios in one of the tests.
Ah,
So it might suggest that the further removed the situation is from their own immediate life, the less impact the ADHD symptoms have on those specific judgment areas.
that's a really key insight. Like, it's one thing to grasp a theoretical problem, but applying it to your own often messy real-life finances, that's where the ADHD brain might struggle more. Okay, so knowing about the ADHD tax and these challenges in financial judgment, what practical strategies can listeners actually start using to get more control?
Right, this is where it gets really practical.
Yeah.
Our sources were full of great advice. Let's start with organization, getting systems in place. Fighting disorganization is just fundamental.
Definitely.
The CHD article suggested creating a specific paperwork flow system, maybe like a temporary holding spot, a tray, a pouch for incoming mail and bills,
Okay.
and then regularly moving those things to one central organized place,
Yeah.
like a financial command center.
A command center. I like that. Makes sense. Out of sight, out of mind is such a big hurdle, so having a structure seems vital.
Totally. And CHDD also strongly recommended using a financial calendar. Seeing income and bills laid out visually, especially those quarterly or annual expenses that sneak up on you,
Oh, yeah, those ones.
it gives you a much clearer picture. That visual aspect can really help bypass some working memory struggles.
The visual element is key. What about budgeting? That often feels like the big, scary monster.
It can feel that way, yeah. But the sources had some really good ADHD-friendly ideas. Step one is just figuring out where your money is actually going now. Tracking expenses?
Yeah.
Could be a simple notebook, could be one of those budgeting apps. We'll get to the Reddit thread. Love those. Maybe even voice memos to quickly log spending. Or hey, maybe ask a friend or partner for help just getting started if it feels too much alone.
Just getting that baseline first.
Exactly. Just understanding your current habits is crucial. Then you figure out your fixed expenses, rent, mortgage, that sort of thing, versus variable ones like groceries or going out.
Right.
And don't forget those sneaky quarterly or annual costs to make the budget realistic. Then setting goals short, medium, long term that actually mean something to you, aligned with your values, your lifestyle vision,
Yeah.
that gives you the motivation.
So connecting the budget to your why, Makes it less about just numbers.
Definitely more engaging.
What about the old school envelope system? Still useful.
Oh, absolutely. For many people, it's incredibly effective, especially if managing digital money feels too abstract. Using actual labeled envelopes with cash for different categories, it creates a very real, tangible limit.
When the cash is gone, it's gone.
Exactly. It creates
Yeah.
much stronger spending awareness.
Okay, that provides a real boundary, good for impulse control. Speaking of which, big challenge for many with ADHD impulsive spending. What were the key strategies for managing that?
Yeah, several key things came up. First, recognizing your triggers, like the Shimmer Guide said. Is it stress, boredom, excitement, certain times a day?
Knowing yourself.
Right. Once you know your triggers, you can set up blocks. Unsubscribe from those tempting store emails and texts. Use the need versus want filter before buying anything non-essential. Takes effort, but that pause.
That pauses everything.
It really can be a game changer. Also, putting actual barriers between you and your money. Maybe don't carry credit cards. Only carry the cash you budgeted for spending.
Physical barriers.
Yeah. Shimmer even suggested maybe a cosigner on accounts for extra accountability. And maybe simplest of all, just avoid the places, our weaknesses, those specific stores or websites.
Out of sight, out of mind again. What if the impulse hits hard and those blocks aren't enough in the moment?
Shimmer had an interesting idea. Make a conscious effort to return impulse buys.
Oh, interesting.
It reinforces that the quick thrill wasn't worth the cost. Helps build more mindfulness over time. Also, setting aside specific fun money in your budget, be guilt-free cash for small treats can stop you feeling totally deprived, which can backfire.
Allows for some flexibility.
Exactly. Talking about spending urges with someone you trust. Friend, partner, coach can give you real-time support. And then some more maybe extreme techniques. Literally freezing your credit card in ice.
Whoa.
Or putting stickers on your cards that represent your financial goals. Little visual reminders.
Those are super practical, creative ideas. Now, technology, it can be distracting, sure, but also a tool. How can tech help manage finances with ADHD?
Tech can definitely be a powerful ally. That Reddit discussion was buzzing about budgeting apps. Why you need a budget mint. Every dollar.
What features did they like?
Things like linking all accounts in one place, automatic expense tracking, budget alerts when you overspend, multiple users for couples. Those were seen as really helpful.
Y&I got a lot of love on Reddit, right? Anything specific about it?
Yeah, its whole philosophy, the digital envelope system where you give every single dollar a job, that seemed to really click for a lot of users with ADHD.
Proactive budgeting.
Exactly. People said even with a bit of a learning curve, the control and clarity it offered was worth it. Plus, the strong community and learning resources helped.
So it's more active than just passively watching money go out? Any other tech tools?
Well, the simple Find My Phone feature standard now, right? Psych Central mentioned it as a way to cut down on that lost item frustration. Reduces that ADHD tax on your time and stress.
Yeah, small things add up.
And for other lost things, keys, wallets, Bluetooth trackers like AirTags or Tile. Relatively cheap way to save a lot of time and hassle.
Good point. Okay, beyond the tools and systems, what about the internal stuff? Mindset shifts, seeking support.
Oh, that's absolutely crucial. Often gets overlooked. Just developing real spending awareness, paying attention to where money goes, but without judging yourself harshly. That's a huge first step.
Paying attention without the shame spiral.
Exactly. And taking time to actually visualize your financial dreams, your goals, that creates much stronger motivation to stick with the plan. Make those future goals feel real now.
Connecting emotionally to the future.
Right. And this is big, cultivating self-acceptance, truly believing you deserve financial stability. That personal story really highlighted this. It's a powerful motivator.
Believing you're worthy of it.
Yes. And actively seeking support partners, friends, an ADHD coach that gives you accountability, practical help building routines, connecting with groups like ADDA or CHEAGD lets you share experiences, learn from others, realize you aren't alone.
Community is key.
Definitely. And for some, working with a financial coach who really gets ADHD can make a massive difference.
So building that support network is vital. And the main takeaway for actually doing all this?
The absolute key thing is small, consistent steps. This is a journey, right? Building mindful habits, sustainable routines. It's not about overnight perfection. It's steady progress. Be kind to yourself.
Okay, so bringing it all together, the ADHD tax is real. It's often a heavy burden stemming from how ADHD symptoms impact finances. But by understanding the challenges, like with financial judgment, and using these ADHD-friendly strategies, organization, budgeting, impulse control, getting support, you really can achieve greater financial well-being.
Absolutely. And reduce that emotional stress, too.
Definitely.
And maybe here's a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on. Think about all the energy that often goes into just recovering from the ADHD tax,
Yeah.
searching for lost things, dealing with late fees, maybe working extra to cover impulse buys. Now, just imagine redirecting even some of that energy towards your real long-term goals, the things you value, fueled by feeling more in control financially, more capable. What could you achieve then?
That's a really powerful question. Very inspiring. We definitely encourage you to look into the resources we talked about. Think about which strategies really resonate with you and your life, and maybe chat about them with someone you trust. Remember, like we've said,
Small steps.
exactly. Taking those small, consistent steps is absolutely the key to making lasting, positive changes in your financial life.